We're back. Myself and Paul have been rightly shown up here, I think. The two of us have been having little miniature panic attacks for the last, I don't know how long it takes to eat dessert and lamb. But what's after happening is some guy came in, infiltrated the place, and sung opera and stole our song. What a man. So we're going to finish off with a trio again. And we're going to start off with Claudia, who said to me very nicely that you were very nervous when you started off your speech. And I said, are you doing a poem? And she was like, I'm not doing a poem, but I think you should do a poem now. I'm joking. Here's Claudia. Hands together.
Thank you so much. I am not doing a poem. Hello everyone, my name is Claudia and I'm a friend of our beautiful bride Maria, and I am honoured and delighted to be making a speech here on this very special occasion. I would have been a little bit happier if Maria hadn't whipped out a guitar and an opera singer hadn't taken part, but here we are. So I've never really looked back on my friendship with Maria until today. I suppose it's not really something that you do until moments like this, but I have to say the past couple of months going into work on the bus, I've been getting quite sentimental and a little bit embarrassed at times about the things we've gotten up to in the time we've known each other. I could never have known that this Wonder Woman behind me would become my oldest friend and that I'd be standing here today. So I'll give you a little bit of background and a little bit of dirt, but not too much because it's a bit PG here. I first met Maria when I was around 15 or 16. I ended up in her class after transition year. So I was a little bit nervous about arriving into a new year because I kind of thought everyone would, kind of have their friends and wouldn't really want to know anybody new. But I kind of resigned myself to just getting through school, moving on and so on. But as it turned out, I was wrong about that. I vividly remember the first day I met Maria. Vividly. She walked into our English class with another girl. She was all giddy and she sat down right in front of me. She was actually a little bit on the cheeky side that day. She was cackling. We were minutes in, and poor old Miss Quigley was just, Maria Griffin! Now, I loved English. It was my favourite subject. So I just thought, why are the cheeky, bold girls in my class? But again, I was wrong about that. She wasn't a naughty school kid at all. I think the only reason she actually ever got in trouble was because of her laugh. You hear it? She just couldn't keep it in once she got going. It just was head flung back and just cackling through the room, and it was really contagious, so everybody got going with it. And I was a little bit bold, I think, because I would just kick the back of her chair, poke her, draw on her neck, do absolutely anything to annoy her to try and get her to laugh. Needless to say, a beautiful friendship was born. And we spent the remainder of our school years driving our poor teachers mad by writing notes to each other and just being giggly teenagers, really. Every now and then we'd hear, girls, is there something you'd like to share with the class? Cue utter panic. No, I do not want to share it with the class, absolutely not. So we made it to Leaving Cert, and we had a fabulous tradition called Pink Day, where we all dressed up like absolute Egypts in pink and wrote letters in our pink. Oh, I clearly actually didn't get the memo. I'm still dressed up like an Egypt in pink. I still have my pink book, gathering dust in my childhood bedroom, and I still have the letter that 17-year-old Maria wrote to me. So it'd be rude if I didn't give you a little snippet from that letter. Open quote. 10:15 p.m. Maria's bedroom. Watching Desperate Housewives. I'll start with the memories. Yesterday, we were flying through the corridor and we were pushing the piano and you were playing it. Everyone was looking and we couldn't stop laughing, with Miss Johnson looking on. That was our vice principal, who was the kind of disciplinarian. And then you went straight into the dustbin. It was one of those lift you up on the clouds kind of moments. You know what I mean? I do, girl, but seriously. That lifted you up in the clouds. She goes on. Can you imagine what's ahead of us? So many brilliant nights and events and things we can do. We've waited so long to be 18. Now you're 18, and I'm 18 in 2 weeks. Yet we can't do anything about it till the wretched leaving cert is over. I can't wait for Pink Day, the Debs, holidays, money, and nights out. Be prepared. It's actually almost a little bit threatening. We were so excited about getting out of school. Sorry, I just realised my back is to all these people. After the leaving cert, as far as we were concerned, we were independent adults. So we thought. I think we can both admit we were probably a little bit wrong about that now. But we were definitely ready for all the adventures that come when you leave home for the first time. Fast forward a few years, and Maria was living with Emma, the maid of honour, on Adelaide Road in Dublin city centre. It was this tiny, tiny, pokey little flat, a 2-minute walk from our favourite haunt at the time, Copperface Jack's. We had a little bit of a love-hate relationship with it, I think, didn't we?
More love.
More love, didn't we? At the time, anyway. It's an awful place, really. It really is. For those who don't know, Dublin Coppers is a grubby, dingy nightclub that is notorious for country people out looking for the shift. That is not why we went there, Paul. 133 first dates, apparently. That is not why we went to Coppers. It's owned by the guards, so it stays open really late. And it plays the cheesiest music, so it's actually perfect for a bunch of girls who've had a few pre-drinks up the road. At that time, we just worked, went out and fell in the door of Adelaide Road, and saved a bit of money for the big planned adventures, which meant we ended up in very different places around the world for quite some time. I think anyone who knows Maria, as Connor said earlier, knows how important travelling is to her. She was always mad to go somewhere new, go volunteering, try new things, and really see the world. No matter how many places she went, there was always somewhere else to go. I think those years of travelling and living away really shaped the person she is today, but no matter how many places she went and no matter how much time went by, seeing her again was always the same, as if she never left at all. We were quite lucky, of course. The good old smartphones allowed us to easily keep in touch. I could keep Maria company on her quiet nights in a hospital in Dublin while I was sitting on a beach in Thailand. A lot of the time. The friends I missed didn't really feel the thousands of miles away that they were. And while I wouldn't say she's been cured of those itchy feet, I think there's a certain fella in the room that's reasonably responsible for keeping her feet a bit more firmly on Irish soil these days. Which I have to admit, I'm fairly selfish about. Happy about it. You know what I mean. Anyway, I had to put a quote in here from Maria because she loves a good old quote. So I found a fairly apt one which said, "You never know the true value of a moment until it becomes a memory." I have so many memories of moments with you. I never even realised how special they were until I started writing this speech. Being your friend has been my absolute pleasure, Maria Griffin. I don't know a bigger goofball than you. You're a rare species. While I don't think I could sleep on a hard floor after a heavy night in Coppers and totter on into work anymore, at least not 3 times a week anyway, I really treasure the memories of when I could. But you can't get excited about what's already happened, only what's to come. And I look forward to seeing and hearing about all the moments that will be memories in this very exciting chapter of your life with Paul. You are and always have been a truly unique person, an old, beautiful soul, even though we sometimes call you a big granny. Granny Griffin. Paul sums you up perfectly when he says, quite rightly, that you are a real character. I know I speak for all of your friends here today when I say we couldn't be more blessed to have you as a friend. And it's rare that I'd publicly announce my affection for someone, but it is a special day. I love you to the moon and back to the moon and back again. 2 round trips. I know that you and Paul are going to have such a wonderful life together, eating roast chicken, Ballymaloo relish and gravy, and playing with your new favourite toy, your Dyson Hoover. Well done, Sinead, it was a really good purchase. I wish you both a world of happiness for this very special chapter of both your lives. Thank you both for such a beautiful day in such a beautiful part of Ireland, even if it rained. Everyone, please raise a glass to this fabulous couple. I'll see you on the dance floor later for some Coppers moments. Cheers.
Thank you for those lovely words, Claudia. Claudia. We're now going to shift into a higher gear, I would say. Get a bit more serious. Please put your hands together for the main man, Mr. Paul Lyons.
Thank you, Kieran. Just after hearing Maria's unbelievable speech, this is going to be a hard act to follow, but I'm going to try my best here. Distinguished guests, relatives and friends, behalf of my wife and I... Sorry, think of a waxy build-up. I said my wife. Try 2,000 first dates.
It's over.
Thank you for joining us today to celebrate our marriage. It's been a privilege to be in the company of so many people that are important in our lives, and we're delighted to welcome you here to share our special day with us. I'd like to make a special mention to guests who travelled a long distance to be able to attend our big day today. Guests so far as New Zealand, Japan, New York, Delaware, London, Holland, and of course, Ballincollig. I'm sure some of our guests are experiencing deja vu today. As you know, Maria and I got married in the Church of the Sacred Heart in Onascall, which is the same church Maria's parents, Eilish and Brian, got married 37 years ago this month by Father Sheehy, who was able to marry Maria and I. Thank you, Father Sheehy, for a wonderful wedding ceremony today. I would also like to thank Father Whitaker, who is Maria's local parish priest in Enfield, who is with us in attendance today. Thank you, Father, for your advice and helping us with the organisation of the wedding. I'd like to thank Sinead Leahy, Maria's aunt, who helped with the flowers and our very unique cake which she created and baked today. If you haven't seen it, I think it's worth a look. Maria and I don't take life too seriously, and I think Sinead has captured our outlook on life in this cake. I'd like to thank Maria's godmother, Kathleen, for helping us prepare for today and letting Maria and I prepare her bridesmaids prepare at her house in Mount Carmel. Kathleen has always welcomed Maria and I into her home since I came to Kerry a number of years ago. I'd like to thank her for going above and beyond to help Maria and I in the biggest day of our lives today. I'd like to thank Kevin Regan, who is a friend of ours, and Pierce Cody, who is my uncle, for doing the photography today. You've done a great job. I'd like to thank our wedding coordinator, Kieran, and the staff of the Skellig, who have helped the day run smoothly today. Organising such a big event can be very stressful. However, the Skellig Hotel made it extremely easy for Maria and I. Thank you for all your hard work. I'd like to raise a toast now to the bridesmaids and groomsmen for all their hard work and a job well done. Maria and I's friends mean a lot to us, and it's great that so many of you have been able to make the trip to Dingle today. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
And of course, I'd like to thank my new in-laws. Maria's parents and her four brothers, Sean, Jared, James and Connor. I'd specifically like to thank Brian and Eilish for raising an absolute character of a daughter. who is my perfect other half. After hearing of our engagement last year, two of Maria's aunties on either side of the family's first reaction was, "Well, Paul, you're certainly not going to have a boring life." By God, they've been spot on. You've all made me feel welcome since I came out to your home nearly 4 years ago, and then Enfield has become a second home to me. I would specifically like to thank Brian for allowing me to marry your only daughter. Nobody looks forward to that awkward conversation with your future and father-in-law, where you look for her hand in marriage. You made the process so easy and smooth when I got a "yes, yes, no problem" after being interrupted halfway through by my future mother-in-law about our upcoming dinner. I'd like to thank my brother and sister, Laura and Brian. Brian has always been the level-headed, calm member of us siblings. Unlike Laura and I, Brian was so laid back, he's horizontal most of the time. Thanks for being the dependable, reliable and funny brother that you are. As Andy referred to earlier, Laura and I, on the other hand, would fight like cats and dogs when we were younger, but we have grown closer as we have become older, with Laura finally maturing to my level. It's been a pleasure watching you raise two of the best-natured kids that any parents could ask for. I know Mam would be very proud of the inspirational mother that you have become. Unfortunately, my mother cannot be here today. She was diagnosed with motor neuron disease 14 years ago and died after 10 years ago. I'm sure she would have loved today, and I know she would have loved Maria as a daughter-in-law. I've had her wedding ring in my chest pocket all day, so I hope she is near and I hope I've made her proud. As you may have seen on the table, Maria and I have made a donation to the Irish Motor Neuron Disease Association in lieu of favours for the wedding, and this has been done in memory of Anne Lyons.
Well done.
And of course, the big fella. My dad, Andy Lyons. What a character. My dad was the rock that kept our family together 10 years ago, and I'm so glad he's been able to find happiness again with a great addition of Miriam to our family 6 years ago. Miriam, you bring a lovely, homely feel to our house, and I'm really glad that you've been able to get on well with Maria. We always look forward to coming down to visit yourself and Andy. Like myself and Maria, you don't take life too seriously, and I know Maria and I both aspire to be as happy as you in married life. My sister is convinced that I am turning into my dad, but that probably isn't a bad thing. If I can be as courageous, dependable, reliable and good-natured as him, then I will be a very happy older gentleman. And there's someone else. Oh yeah, and finally... Finally, I'd like to thank my wife, Maria. So, I'll never forget the first time I actually saw Maria. It went a bit like this. No. Oh, what's this? So, Maria and I matched on a dating app called Tinder about this time 4 years ago. After swapping messages and numbers, we finally set up a date and time for our first date. Me, being the punctual young man that I am, was about 15 minutes late. I rushed into Church Bar on Jervis Street looking for a young brunette woman that I'd seen in the profile pictures that I'd been chatting to the previous few weeks, but she was nowhere to be seen. Was my lack of punctuality about to bite me in the bum, and had Maria thought I had stood her up? The bar was half empty, and I noticed a striking blonde woman sitting by herself under the stairs. But I was looking for a brunette. I couldn't see any brunettes sitting by themselves with 2 drinks, so I started to think maybe the blonde woman was my date for the evening. I didn't want to come across as creepy, so I hid behind the pillar in front of where she was sitting. And texted her and asked her, was she the blonde with the grey top sitting under the stairs? I was obviously failing in my attempts to be creepy. The young blonde woman had her head buried in the drinks menu of the bar, and she was not responding to my texts, so I decided to introduce myself. Thank God it was Maria. Please note that if you are still on a dating app, it is a good idea to look like the person in your photos. So we started chatting, and things were going well. The conversation flowed, and I started to crack a few jokes. I told her about how my groomsman Kelly proposed to his wife by putting a ring in her favourite box of sweets and having to wait 4 days to propose. It is at that moment that I heard it for the first time. The famous Maria Griffin laugh. The most spectacular, infectious laugh that I'd ever heard. I thought to myself, I like to tell jokes. This woman loves a good chuckle. This could be a great match. So Maria and I started dating regularly from that day forward, and things were going great. After a few months, we decided to make it official, and I asked her to be my girlfriend. I soon realised that there is something about Maria, and after some Dutch courage, I worked up the courage to tell her that I love her. I will let a poem written by her good friend and bridesmaid, Sorika, summarise how the response went. 'Twas on the 21st of October 2015 that Paul first met the charming girl he had ever seen. And even though Maria played hard to get, she knew in her heart he was the coolest man yet. Cheers, and so when Paul couldn't hold it anymore, he finally said the 3 words to his pretty amour, and even though Maria pretended to snore, deep down she was pretty much sure. It only took me 4 months of Maria pretending to sleep before I got the I love you in return. Maria Griffin, you are the funniest, most caring and loving person I know. You have a spark and an ability to make the small things in life exciting and always keep me entertained. I'm happy and proud to call you my wife, and I'm looking forward to spending the rest of my life with you. Thanks, mate.
Lovely words. So this is actually pretty hard for me because everything is, that has come, has been so nice, has been said. Dirty mind. I suppose I just want to say that what's down on paper here is only half the man. There's definitely a lot more stories, and what I can say is my price is a pint of Heineken. But I'd like to kick it off with just saying how privileged I am to be here on this really special day for Maria and Lindsay, or Paul. Maria, you look beautiful. I think you, as I said, you really lit up the church earlier, along with your bridesmaids. And Connor, you scrubbed up well too. Fair play, representing the male portion of the bridesmaids. Paul's had a silly grin on his face, I think, from the moment he woke up. And you can see here he's grinning like a dead sheep right here next to me. So it's actually a really privileged position that I'm in, being best man. Well, at least for a few more minutes. Looking around the room, I can see definitely a lot of lads who would jump at the opportunity here to kind of tell a couple of stories about Lindsay, and like I said, there's definitely a lot. But for my speech, I kind of want to talk about the man, Paul Lyons, the man that was, the man that is, and the man that will be, insofar as a husband for Maria. And folks, just if I refer to Paul as Paul, don't hold it against me. Or sorry, Paul as Lindsay, don't hold it against me, because I've only ever known him as Lindsay, along with another couple of choice nicknames. For example, Licky Lindsay, which we'll get to a bit later. So yeah, in terms of the man that was, I lived with Lindsay for about 3 years in London, and considering the nights out that we'd have in future years and the kind of silly antics, it was definitely like kind of the movie Dumb and Dumber when Harry met Lloyd, and obviously Lindsay representing the dumber portion of that duo. But we actually first met during a house party in Cork in our final year of college. And it was definitely kind of one of the first of many good nights out that we'd have, and all the crack. And that summer I ended up moving to London. And Lindsay, being the academic that he is, went on to do a master's further education in Cork. But like any good couple, really, we stayed in contact, obviously, throughout the year. And Lindsay would come over to visit every so often in London. And, we'd continue to have the crack over in London, a place called the Swan, which a couple of people, Copperface Jack's equivalent in London. But then after his master's, Lindsay made the move back over to London, and we ended up getting a place together in the southwest of London, a place called Tooting. And myself, Lindsay, and two of the other crew here who kind of make up the groomsmen and women, we found a place together. And it was a pretty hectic year, I guess. We ended up treating the place like, the first year like an extended J1 or holiday, whilst keeping down the job. We actually ended up getting evicted within our first 6 months of moving into that place and tuning back. Turns out having a house party the same week as the London riots is probably not the best move in hindsight. After the riot police were called, we kind of knew the writing was on the wall, so we quickly vacated the place and moved a couple of kind of miles up the road to a place fondly known now as Amesbury Avenue. But they say you only truly know somebody once you've lived with them. And over the last couple of weeks, I was trying to think of all the quirks and habits of Lindsay. And there's definitely a long list. Dodgy black silk linen, bed linen even, which is very disturbing. Very questionable, if not, dangerous culinary skills. I think the guy lived on steak, curly fries, and a portion of frozen veg for about a year and a half. Don't know how he didn't come down with scurvy. But really, I suppose of the long list, there was 2 key ones, and I think there's definitely a theme for tonight. But the first one, I don't think anybody has heard of, so this is, I think, where I bring some uniqueness. But Lindsay can actually carry a tune quite well. He's quite a good singer. But he has this kind of affliction where he inserts the name of generally male genitalia into the lyrics of songs. And then, because he's actually a good singer, he'll proceed to sing that for week in, week out, until it's actually ingrained in your memory, to the point where I can never listen to a Fleetwood Mac song without inserting the name of male genitalia into the lyrics. But what I will say, taking the rough with the smooth, nothing got you in the festive mood during Christmas better than a rendition of Here Comes Lindsay Claus. So, but the second key observation, Tinder profile, and I think it would be remiss of me not to mention the fact, that, or the importance of Tinder in Lindsay's life. As you can see, obviously from the table names, it was key, I think, or integral insofar as how Maria and Lindsay met. But I suppose you don't get to the kind of sniper expert level that Lindsay attained without putting the work in. And being in London, you get a sample of that. If I was going to put it into numbers or stats, because I'm a stats guy, 8 dates in 7 days. I think he's got you in 133. By the way, Maria. But I think Lindsay was just a bit of a social butterfly, just to kind of round that point off. But what I found actually really funny was the fact that for his dates, he used to bring them to the same place, I'm going to say consistently, kind of day in, day out. A little place called the Breakfast Club, just off Liverpool Street in central London. And I guess as the waiting staff, you kind of seen this guy rock up every single day with a different date. You're thinking, is he a serial killer, or? And that's where the comparison with American Psycho comes in. So I'm not sure if people have seen American Psycho, but and I don't want to go down a very morbid route for what is a very special day, but the key character in that is a chap called Patrick Bateman. And Patrick Bateman used to bring all his dates to the same place every single night. But, let's call a spade a spade. The key difference between Patrick Bateman and somebody like Lindsay is the fact that Bateman used to pick up the check for his date at the end of the night. And he's proud. Miriam's not happy. Okay, I think fair to say some cracking times in London, but you obviously get to that point where you start thinking about the future and putting down some roots. And for Lindsay, he made the move back to London, and although it was a sad time, Dublin, Jesus. Although it was a sad time for us in London, I think it was obviously an important decision, given it kind of set things in motion for how he'd meet Maria eventually. So I think we're all very happy with that. But it was a couple of weeks, actually, I think, after Maria and Lindsay became official that I first met Maria. And I actually remember it quite well. It was kind of around Christmas time, 2016, and we were in Hogan's Bar, and I actually hadn't been introduced to Maria at that point, but I just remember hearing this laugh from across the pub, and I was like, Jesus, that's a kind of loud but uniquely rich laugh. And it wasn't until kind of later that evening that when I was introduced to Maria that I was like, holy crap, that's her. But what's more, she was laughing at all of Lindsay's jokes, silly stories, antics, and I'm going to say that was the first time, that was the signal that this is the woman for Lindsay. But yeah, fair to say, sorry, that we all loved Maria the first time we met her. She's definitely the woman for Lindsay. And it was no surprise when I got the news that the two of you were engaged. But I think what I was more surprised about was the fact that Lindsay injected a serious amount of romance into that proposal. Like, this was note-taking territory. And I think we were all just like, where the hell did he pull that one out of? But clearly Maria is the type of woman and influence on Paul where he pulls out the big guns. And he kind of pulled them out today. I suppose sorry, I'm after losing my trail of thought.
Take it slow.
But yeah, thank you. I remember a funny story actually about after kind of the engagement. We were having engagement drinks over in Paul and Maria's place, and Emma, Maria's maid of honour, was talking about Paul, how he's one of these guys who just really knows what he wants in life. He has a plan. And she was chatting to one of the girls who would have known Lindsay during the college days and all the way up through London and Dublin. And she almost burst out laughing in her face. Couldn't believe that this is actually the same guy. And like I said, pulling out the kind of big guns. But I'm going to move swiftly on because I think we're all in need of a drink, to the man that will be. And from my perspective, he's one of the funniest guys that I've come to know, have known throughout the years. I've really enjoyed being your friend, from the nights out and the crack that we've had together in our early 20s, to some of the chats over the most abysmal rounds of golf that I've ever played in Dublin. But genuinely, it's all been great, and I wouldn't have changed a thing. And deep down, I think Lindsay's somebody who you call a true friend. He's thoughtful, caring, and he's got a great outlook on life, and he's always ready to bring the laughter. Andy, you've done a great job with the guy. I think you should be proud.
Thank you.
And Lindsay, I've not met your mother, but I know she would have been proud of you, and she would have really approved of Maria as well. You make a great couple. Maria, as I said earlier, you're the woman for Lindsay. No doubt about that. He's a lucky guy. But as one of his best friends, I feel compelled to tell you, you've also found somebody who's going to keep you happy and laughing through all the ups and downs as you both move into this next adventure together. So I'm going to leave it at that, folks. One last time, I'd like to raise a toast to this really special Mr. and Mrs. Lyons. I welcome you both. Years of happiness and laughter together. Cheers.